Hello students, now we will start with a new topic, that is metals and non-metals. Clear? Let us first understand that why we are studying this topic, metals and non-metals. Actually students, we have many materials. Please note it down in your notebook that we have many materials, and in order to classify them separately on the basis of their physical and chemical properties, we divide the materials into three different parts. One is metal, the other one is non-metal, and the third one is metalloid. So students, these are the three different categories in which we divide the materials. And you will say that, sir, we are only doing this topic, and why not we are not doing this metalloid? The reason is that metalloid we will study in our higher classes. Now we will study only on metals and non-metals. Just for a basic idea, I will give you a hint that what is metalloid. See, we are dividing metals and non-metals on the basis of their physical and chemical properties. Let me give you an example that how we are distinguishing the things. In a class there are 60 students, but what we do, we divide them into three categories. Those students those who are really good, some student those who are average, and some student those who are really bad. So what is the property of good? The property of good is that they have good marks, good nature, good behavior, good scorecards, even they are good in sport. But those who are bad, they are neither good in marks, neither good in studies, neither good in class, neither good in behavior. But those who are average, they have the feature of both good and bad. Similarly, in our metalloid, it have the feature of both metals and non-metals, metal and non-metal. So scientists find out that there are few elements which are having the features of metals and non-metals, metals and non-metals. So they are confused that whether we should put that element A into metal or non-metal. So in order to simplify the thing, they have created a new category, that is metalloid, and in that category they put those elements which have the properties of both metal and non-metals. Okay, so now we got the idea of the chapter. Let's start with the first part. We have heard of the few materials like iron, aluminium, copper, and these all are metals. So the question is that how can you say, sir, that these are metals? Okay, so let's see. There are few elements such as oxygen, or we can say hydrogen, or we can say nitrogen. What are these? These are the elements which are non-metal. So sir, is there any particular specification on which you divide this material as metals and non-metals? Yes, there is, such as appearance, like whether that particular element is shiny or dull. If that element is shiny, we consider that element as the metal. If a particular element is very hard, we say that it's a metal, and if particular element is not very hard or soft, we say it as non-metal. Clear? So first, if a particular element is shiny, we call it as metal. Okay. Another word for shine is luster, and if particular element is very hard, we call it as metal. Okay, now we will dig into the physical properties of metal and non-metal. Physical property means it can be easily visible through eyes. Okay, so our first physical property is malleability. What does this word stands for? Suppose if you have a small ball of iron or aluminium, suppose I will take it as aluminium, and I will press it, I will beat it, and after pressing I will make it a thin sheet. Have you seen that your mother always used to pack your food in an aluminium foil paper? So that aluminium is nothing but a sheet of aluminium, like a small piece of aluminium pressed and it is changed into sheet. Okay, if they were beaten harder, this could be changed into sheet. Means if you beat a aluminium element with something, it will convert into a thin sheet, and this property is known as malleability. Clear? This property is not shown by material such as coal or pencil. What will happen? If you beat coal, it will break into small pieces, but it will not convert into a thin sheet. Similarly, pencil, if you make a small pieces, it will become a small pieces and later it will become powder, but it will not become a thin sheet. Means these are not metals, because metals can be beaten and can be spread into a thin sheet, and this property is known as malleability. Clear? Our next physical property is ductility. What does that really mean? You have seen copper wires. Copper wire means a small piece of copper, converted into a thin wire, a small piece of copper converted into a thin wire. And why we are converting copper into wire? Because they are good conductor of electricity. Clear? But you cannot do the same with any other material such as coal, wood, oxygen. You can't convert them into a wire. So this property is known as ductility. So those elements, now what will happen? Suppose there are 6 elements, and now you have seen that these two are hard, you say they are metal. These two are soft, you say as non-metal. This is ductility. This element can be converted into a thin wires, means property of ductility. You say it as metal, but this element cannot be converted into a thin wire. You say it as non-metal. Clear? This how we classify our elements into metals and non-metals. Our next property is sonorous. What does that means? If we beat metals, they produce a ringing sound. Every time you visit temple, you see that there is a bell. It is made up of metal. Why it is not made up of wood? Because wood will not create any sound when beaten hardly, but metal, if you will beat them hardly, they will create a sound, ringing sound, and that property is known as sonorous property. Clear? So we have seen 3 different properties: malleability, ductility and sonorous. And apart from that, we have already studied that metals are hard, metals are lustrous, malleable, ductile, sonorous and good conductor of heat and electricity. Clear? So these materials, the materials which generally, the word is generally, because sometimes it happens that these properties are not there, but still we call them as metal, we call it as exception. Okay, so the material which generally possesses these properties are called metals. Examples of metals are given below: iron, copper, aluminium, calcium, magnesium, etc. These all are metals. But few examples of non-metal also given below, just like coal, sulfur. Why they are non-metal? Because the reason is that they are soft and they are dull, and if you will beat them, they broke down into a powdery mass. Clear? As well as non-metals are not sonorous, means they will not produce any sound, as well as they are poor conductor of heat and electricity. So these metals are called non-metals. These materials are called non-metals. Examples are given just like sulfur, carbon, oxygen, phosphorus, etc. Clear? So we have studied about the physical properties. Now we will see the chemical properties. Okay, in chemical properties we will see the 4 different parts. what will happen here, we will do the reaction of metals and non-metals with particular things. So say oxygen, then water, then acid, and then base. What we will do? We will try to do the reaction of metals with oxygen, non-metals with oxygen. Similarly, we will try to do the reaction of metals with water and non-metals with water. Clear? So let's start with the chemical properties of metals and non-metal. What we will see, that after we mix oxygen with the metal, what the observation we are getting, or when we will mix non-metal with oxygen, what are the observation we are getting, that's important. Clear? So for the oxygen, please write it down, that it will be easy for you. When you will combine metal with oxygen, metal with oxygen, you will get the oxide of that metal. Now it will be easy for you to form the reaction. Suppose I will take the magnesium as the metal and I will mix it with oxygen. What it will become? It will become 2MgO. Now see here, Mg is also 2, we will write Mg2. So what it is? It is magnesium oxide. Write it down, magnesium oxide. And this magnesium oxide is basic in nature. Basic in nature. Always we classify as two things, whether it is acidic or whether it is basic. So magnesium oxide is basic in nature. Clear? One more example, I will combine sulfur with oxygen. What will become? Sulfur dioxide, right? Sulfur dioxide, and this is acidic in nature. This is acidic in nature. Clear? So now we will observe the things. Magnesium is a metal, magnesium is a metal, and sulfur is a non-metal. Sulfur is a non-metal. Now what we did? We combine metal with oxygen and we combine non-metal with the oxygen. But what we get as the result? We get the result as oxide. We get the result as oxide. So it really shows that if we combine either the metal or the non-metal with the oxygen, definitely we will get the oxide. But there is one important observation other than this. When we combine metal with the oxygen, we will get the basic in nature. Like the oxide we get is basic in nature. But if we combine non-metal with the oxygen, our oxide is acidic in nature. Our oxide is acidic in nature. Clear? Now see, the question is that we got the sulfur dioxide gas in our reaction, but how will you check the gas whether it is a acidic or basic in nature? So in order to check whether it is acidic or basic in nature, you dissolve that oxide gas in water. You dissolve that oxide gas in water. Sulfur dioxide plus water. What we get? We got sulfurous acid. Now what we did? We checked this H2SO3, and what it does? It turns my blue litmus paper into red. So it shows that sulfur dioxide gas is acidic in nature. Clear? Okay, we have completed the oxygen. Now we will react the metals and non-metals with water. Okay, sodium when react with water, it react very vigorously, means very dangerously. Clear? But there are some metals which do not react with water. So some metal react with water and some metals do not react with water. Just like iron, it reacts very slowly with the water. it reacts very slowly with the water, clear. And when I come to non-metal, they do not react with water, but they are reactive in air. So what we got? Metals, few metals react with water and few do not, but non-metal do not react with water, but they react with air. So in order to protect those non-metals, what we do? We keep them non-metals into water. So if my non-metal is dipped into a water, it will not expose to air and it will not be reacting with the air, but there are few metals which are reacting with the water, clear. So the one example is sodium. Write the chemical equation. Na is for sodium, 2Na. What I am mixing? I am mixing water, 2H2O. What I will be getting? I will be getting sodium hydroxide. Sodium, write it down, sodium hydroxide. Along with that, I will get hydrogen gas. This is sodium hydroxide and this is hydrogen gas. Means what is happening? I am mixing sodium with water. What I am getting? The hydroxide of that particular metal, hydroxide of that particular metal, and along with the hydroxide I am getting hydrogen gas, clear. Now we have completed our water and oxygen. Now we comes to acid. When our metal react with acid, it produce a pop sound. It produce a pop sound. And how this pop sound produce? Suppose this is the test tube, and in the test tube we have our acid and I put some metal, and after putting the metal into it, I bought a matchstick near the test tube. What will happen? It will create pop sound, means something is bursting out there, clear. But there is one metal, say copper, it do not react with hydrochloric acid even after heating, but it react with sulfuric acid. So this is very important point for the exam as well. What it's saying? Question can ask, copper react with hydrochloric acid? You say no, copper will not react with hydrochloric acid, but it will react with sulfuric acid. One more question, non-metal react with acid or not? You will say no, non-metal will not react with acid. Non-metal will not react with acid, clear. Now the question is that what that pop sound is for? That pop sound indicates that the presence of hydrogen gas. Very important for the exam, that what does that pop sound indicate? It indicates the presence of hydrogen gas, clear. When metal react with sodium hydroxide to produce hydrogen gas, clear. And when we will see the reaction of non-metal with base, there are very complex, clear. Now we will study the displacement reaction. Okay, I will give you a small example before explaining this concept. Suppose this boy is very strong and this boy is very small. So when he comes to fight with him, it is definitely sure that he will win, or when he will going to fight with him, it is again sure that he will win. Please remember this example when I am going to explain you displacement reaction. What is happening? We are doing a reaction with copper sulfate and zinc. Now this solution, copper sulfate, is blue in color. Okay, say this test tube and this is copper sulfate. Okay, what I did? I added some zinc in that. Okay, now what will happen? After adding the zinc, what will happen? Red color copper will settle down, and this blue color copper sulfate solution will become colorless and this will become zinc sulfate. This will become zinc sulfate. So now we will see one important thing, that zinc is very strong and very reactive and very powerful than copper. Okay, so let's see one thing. CuSO4, zinc. Zinc came to react with copper sulfate and we know that zinc is very powerful. So what he will do? He will replace this copper, he will fight with copper, both are metal, so he will fight with metal and he will remove this copper. So what will become in the reaction? ZnSO4 and copper will stay alone. Copper will stay alone. Clear? You got the answer? Copper sulfate is blue color solution and zinc sulfate is a colorless solution, and copper sulfate, copper is red. Copper is red color deposit. Clear? Now suppose we got zinc sulfate and now we tried to mix copper sulfate in the solution. What will happen? Do you think that copper sulfate will replace this zinc sulfate? No, it's not possible. Why? Because zinc is powerful than copper. So if copper will come to fight with zinc, copper will not win. Copper will stay here only and zinc will stay at his place. Clear? So in this example what we have seen, that zinc displaces that copper. That's why we gave this reaction the name as displacement. That zinc displaces the copper, so it becomes displacement reaction. Clear? There are many uses of metals and non-metals. Some of the examples are given of metals over here, such as we make trains, we make automobiles, we make car, we make aeroplane, we make utensil, water bottle, etc. These all are made up of metals. But there are few important non-metals as well. Suppose oxygen that we inhale during breathing. There are fertilizers that require non-metals. Even in the water purification, when we purify our water, we require non-metals. Clear? In the antiseptic, we use non-metals. In the crackers we brush during the Diwali, we use non-metals. So these are the different uses of metals and non-metals. So students, we have completed our chapter over here. So please do it well and complete it. Okay. Thank you students.